Hello everybody, this is BSJ. This is going to be my summary video for 7.20, where I highlight what I believe to be the most impactful changes as well as impactful hero changes, and just talk about how they're going to impact the game and how you need to think about this patch. If you should read it yourself, because I'm not going to be going over it in its entirety, but you should definitely keep in mind the things that I talk about in this video. So denies no longer give XP, they give gold to the hero that denies. You still deny the XP, but you no longer get the XP bonus. This means if you get every deny, you get 4 times as much XP as the opponent rather than 5 times as much XP. I'd say early on in the game, XP is more important than gold, so this makes denies not quite as good, but they still are very powerful, and you just won't quite outlevel people as much as you previously did. Teleporting. You now have a teleport scroll slot. I think the most impactful part about this is that early game, you have ability to buy early stat items or early value items because you have that extra slot, which still allows you to TP to fights. And super late game, when you need 6 slots and you still have that slot for a TP. Really important to think about. Neutrals now give more stack bounty, really important for supports. Mana and HP regen have been changed to what they were before, so that intelligence and strength just give you health regen or mana regen, and they no longer amp it. So this means that items that give you regen, such as Bottle, Salve, Tango, are all slightly nerfed, and this means that heroes with innate regen become even more powerful. Just slightly, but it's important to note that that happened. Roots. They now cancel TP scrolls, and all roots are treated the same. They no longer cancel channeling. For instance, Treant ulti no longer cancels Enigma's Black Hole. Mainly I'd say that's important against Black Hole, but there's a few other heroes with channeling abilities to think about. Most notably though, your roots cancel teleports, and you also can't teleport while rooted, which is very important. Previously you'd want to hold stuff like Crystal Maiden, Frostbite, or Naga Siren and Snare, because you didn't want the guy to just TP out, but they can no longer do that. And now leashes are treated like roots, but the person can still move. What I mean is the teleport scroll interaction is still the same with leashes. That includes Puck's ult, Slark's Pounce, as well as Grimstroke's ultimate. You also can't use mobility-based abilities just like before. So now Puck Coil, Slark Pounce, and Grimstroke ultimate are not countered by Queen of Pain or Anti-Mage Blinks. Storm Spear Ball Lightning, for instance, or Ember Spirit Remnant. All of these abilities are no longer able to get out of these things, making those heroes and those mechanics much more powerful. Cleave now calculates the damage based on the armor of every hero or every unit that gets hit by the cleave. All cleave numbers were buffed, which makes them better against low armor targets such as creeps, but are no longer good against high armor targets like they were before. Really important to consider when you're thinking about counter matchups as well as what items you're going to build. Previously, you'd want to build Battle Fury on heavy physical damage heroes against heroes like Terrorblade because they had high armor and the Battle Fury cleave was pure, but now that no longer works that way. BKB and spell immunity in general has been buffed a lot, and I think this is most notable that it removes a lot of statuses it previously didn't, which affects certain matchups. So I think Lifestealer and Jug are best affected by this, but it obviously affects any hero that naturally needs to build a BKB. Most notably, something like Weaver Swarm gets removed by BKB. Very, very powerful addition to heroes like Lifestealer and Jug that were countered previously by abilities like this. Hex is now removed by Strong Dispels. Welcome back Slark, Slark, Abaddon, as well as Legion Commander, heroes that were kind of in the dumpster because of this mechanic before. You can't build any items to remove Hex, so you need to have a hero specifically, so those heroes become more valuable because the mechanic they carry is unique to those heroes. Same with Tidehunter. His Kraken Shell will now dispel the Hex. Day and night cycle is now 5 minutes. Keep in mind, it's with the runes. That's a nice way for you to remember it. And also, it buffs up heroes like Slark and Nightstalker because they want that extra minute to be able to make use of that nighttime. Meaning that they want that extra minute to get levels and XP and gold before the nighttime comes around, such that they can make use of it with their nighttime power. Scan no longer ignores units in the Roshan pit. Very important. Self-damage no longer disables regen items. Very huge buff for Pudge and Slark specifically. Lifesteal is no longer limited by the current HP of the target and uses the full damage you are dealing instead. This is very good for lifesteal heroes that also have crits, because previously if you crit a unit that had 15 health, you'd get 2 health left or back because of how lifesteal worked. But now if you're a PA that crits a creep for 1200 damage when the creep had 10 health, you will lifesteal about 200 health, which is very good. All movement speed bonuses are now rebalanced around being a percentage rather than a constant addition. They all stack except for boots, and it makes it so that they are based around your 300 move speed approximately, with a slight nerf on all movement speed items, based on that 300 move speed average. The important thing about this is that heroes with higher movement speeds base are technically just buffed by this, and it's a little thing to think about whenever you're building items, or thinking about how good a hero is. The Phase Boots Treads rework is massive. So now Phase Boots have no longer an active. They have a passive phase, which is the same as it was before, meaning what it gives you. But instead, it's based on if you are attacking a unit, you are attack ordering a unit within 900 range. So as long as you are A-clicking something and you are following them with the attack order command and you are within 900 range of them, you will be phased. And the buff lasts for 0.5 seconds. So phase became less of a roam around the map with higher speeds item, more of a lane dominance item, because you can be constantly phased in the lane as long as you have something to attack. But if you're walking around the map, you can't just phase in order to get there faster. Very important to consider. Also, instead of damage, it includes a chainmail and a glove of haste, both of which can be bought from the side shop. More emphasizing that it is a lane dominating item because you can buy it from the side shop. And it gives you armor and attack speed, both of which are good for trades and out like just harassing the opponent. So that more influences the fact that it is a lane dominance type item. Super good on heroes that either need the attack speed or also need the armor, such as low armor strength heroes, such as heroes like Monkey King, who love the attack speed for their passive, but also start with low armor. Treads, on the other hand, now include a blade of attack instead of a glove of haste. So this means that heroes that love the attack speed and the stats, such as illusion heroes, get nerfed because they no longer want to buy treads necessarily, unless they just want the stats, but you're not getting everything in one. And treads are less about trading because they don't give the attack speed. They're more about killing or farming because of the 16 damage. Maims no longer exist. You now get status resistance from them, from anything that would have maimed. Very important for heroes that relied on the maim from these type of items, but better for heroes that built Heaven's Halberd as a utility item. It makes them better, but it weakens the heroes like Slark that would have bought this item because it lets you lock on to targets. Yasha and Kaya and Sanj, and now lets you combine Kaya with either of them, and you can build a stat item for two of any stat. You can buy intelligence, agility, strength, or strength, intelligence. I'm not 100% sure about the impact of these items. They're very much like Sanj and Yasha, where they make you better at everything, but they don't give you something they didn't get, like that you didn't have before. So these are the items that you will buy if you don't need any other item and you just need a luxury item that makes you farm faster or just feel better about like your stats, meaning like, you know, you don't need to be able to close the gap, you don't need more survivability, you just need a luxury item. These are very good for that, but I'm not sure how good these items actually are. Ring of Tarrasque, it gives you 60% as much health as a Vit booster. It costs about 60% as much. So if you're thinking about early game value, it just gives you free HP regen compared to a Vit booster. So this makes Heart of Tarrasque have a better build-up because of this. So heroes like Spectre will have, you know, a natural regen item that they'll want to build into early game that also gives them a little bit of value at that point in the game. Holy Locket, it's a nice support item. You can look it up, but I'm not really concerned about it for carries. Solar Crest, very broken, I believe. We'll see how it pans out. It now gives these stats, costs almost 4,000, but most notably the active now makes it so for an ally you give them 70 attack speed, 10% movement speed, and 12 armor. That is an insane buff for heroes like Luna, any tower sieger, any hero that stands their ground. So I think because the item costs more but is so insane, it'll be more of an offlaner type item because you only get those benefits if somebody else places the bonus on you. So it's either an offlaner item, I believe, or a 4-position type item that can afford it, but mainly you give it to the carry. Crown is a stat-based item that's not efficient for its gold. It costs a little bit less than all of the Wraithbands, Nulls, and Bracers, but doesn't give you nearly as much. Most notably, though, it builds into all items that previously required Wraithbands, Bracers, and Nulls. So you only buy this item, which is available at the side shop, if you are planning to buy one of those items, because the other stat items are just more efficient. With a kilo removed from the game, carries and other cores had to figure out how to replace it. Simply put, they gave Bracer, Wraithband, and Null Talisman, already super value items that no longer build into anything, 45 extra cost, but you get 1 extra stat and an extra bonus. I believe these items are incredibly value and something because of the teleport scroll change where you no longer require a teleport scroll in one of your inventory slots are even better. So I see carries already going 2, 3, sometimes even 4 Wraith Bands. And I see offlaners or mid laners going double Bracer. You see mid laners going double Null. These items are incredibly valuable, and because you have less item slot limitations, they become even more valuable. So very important to consider, like if you're considering replacing an Wraith or an Aquila, you want double, maybe triple Wraith Band. Atos now cancels TPs, just a reminder. Bloodstone, massive changes. I'm not 100% sure what to think about this yet. I'll have to see how this item plays out. Satanic, less of a damage item, more status resistance, which is really nice for the ability like heroes like Huskar that just want to man up and didn't necessarily need the damage, but a nerf to heroes that are limited on damage that previously built the Satanic. All damage items got slightly buffed, like items that don't really give you stats but just damage. 8 damage on Crystallis, 1 less armor on Deso, less cost on Basher. Force Staff now gets out of Slark Pounce, so most notably it's the only way to get out of Slark Pounce for most heroes. Unless you have a BKB, the only way to get out of Slark Pounce is BKB or Force Staff. Midas, slowly but surely becoming a more and more viable item. And with the addition of Phase Boots becoming such a lane dominant item, and these like cheap items like Bracer, I think a lot of heroes can go like Phase, double Wraith Band, double Bracer, like one of the two, and then build into Midas. And I'm going to consider that for a lot of heroes I want to play. In terms of heroes, I'm going to highlight the heroes that I believe got the most impactful changes this patch. There's 37 heroes, I believe, that got reworked, and I'm just going to be giving some highlights because I don't want to go all over all of them. Anti-Mage's Ags is now an active. You don't need the Ags, you just get the active, which is really powerful if you have the reaction time. So it gives you a counter spell shield for 1.4 seconds, and on max level it's a 3-second cooldown. Most notably, I think it's even better in lanes against heroes like Wraith King, heroes with projectile stuns, heroes with projectile damage nukes such as Dazzle. It makes Anti-Mage's lane matchups way different, and you should consider that when picking or thinking about picking your hero. Bounty Hunter. Completely changed the hero. Shadow Walk now movement speed slows, while Janata steals gold from people and does a flat amount of bonus damage early. And now Track makes you get only the movement speed bonus, and you crit the hero that you attack with the track on. So basically, Bounty Hunter is more of a core, and he steals gold. So you want to, I think, want to max Janata, and you want to play a core. And I think he's an offlaner. I don't think he's good enough to be mid or carry. So that's what I believe Bounty Hunter will become. Brewmaster, his passive got reworked. Basically, it's an active that for 5 seconds gives you a ton of evasion and a ton of crit chance with massive crits. Basically, 5 seconds, don't touch this guy. Very important to think about this in terms of how it affects lane matchups for Brew. From my perspective, it seems very broken, will probably get nerfed. Drunken Haze, the spammable mischance, is no longer a spammable mischance. It's now a pretty high cooldown at low levels, and then it is a AoE mischance that is, instead of a mischance, turns into a chance to attack yourself. So this is effectively a miss that is reflected on you. Very important to consider. And he also has some synergy with fire damage heroes that are all listed right here. Chaos Knight, a hero that previously did not have sustain in lane. Now his crit is a guaranteed crit every 8-7-6-5 seconds, and it gives you lifesteal. The crit can be very high variance, but the nice thing about this is that it gives him the ability to trade. And they reworked all of his other abilities in terms of the numbers to counteract this, but I believe CK might be really good now because he previously had no way of winning trades, and now he does. Dazzle, a hero that became a core potentially. His ult now gives, it's not the weave at all. It now is a passive that gives you cooldown reduction, and anytime you cast a spell, heroes and enemy creeps around you lose armor. And it stacks. So it's very powerful potentially as a core because you have lower cooldowns, and you also, anytime you use an ability, it gives minus armor for farming on creeps as well as just killing heroes. I think the most sleeper OP hero of the patch is Doombringer. His Devour now gives HP regen, and his Scorched Earth does not. So you thought getting a Satyr creep was game winning on Doom, and may not give it to your teammates, but now you automatically get a Satyr creep every time you consume a creep, and you don't have to steal the ability of the creep you eat. So this makes it so you can constantly eat creeps without worrying about the downside if you want to keep a specific one. And if you spam Devour at level 7 with max Devour, you will have 40 HP regen per second. Also benefits heavily from the Phase Boots change, which gives him attack speed and armor, things he previously really needed. Juggernaut has been given free attack speed as well as armor at level 1. But most notably, his ult now attacks based on his damage for this long of time rather than a set amount of Omni Slash strikes. This means that his Omni Slash scales way better into the late game because it actually gets better with items rather than a flat amount. So really important to consider that Juggernaut actually has much better late game viability. Luna's Aura. Numbers got nerfed, but they now give primary attribute bonus, which effectively gives you the damage. But most notably, it gives it to everyone. So around you. I think this will get nerfed pretty soon, but we'll just have to see. With level 15, it gives 40 primary stat to your entire team when you're in a team fight. And if you think about it with strength heroes, 40 times 22.5 is 900 health. All strength heroes around you get 900 health for free. Monkey King now has the ability to have a puck phase shift every 20 seconds that lasts for 0.3, which is incredibly good, especially in lane where heroes have projectiles that you can simply dodge now, such as, or like delayed stun, such as Lena stun, Centaur stun, Wraith King stun, anything like that. Very easy to dodge. Naga's Riptide is now a passive that gets it on attacks. So you basically have a 1 out of 6 chance to proc it on you and your illusions. So the way this hero lanes, she doesn't secure CS with her E anymore because it's not like a reliable nuke. But now she trades way better and farms way faster and can actually clear waves without a Radiance because her illusions will proc this on the entire wave. Multicast now works on items. They slightly nerf his abilities, such as Ignite no longer having the ability to be AoE, so you can't really farm with that. But you can, as of now, multicast with Midas. Very broken, very important to consider if you want to play core Ogre. Phantom Assassin, couple reworks to her abilities, but most notably, she has a free smoke every 60, 55, 40, or 50, 45 seconds on her blur. You can now see her on the map passively, but every time she gets this for 25 seconds, you can't see her at all, as if she was smoked, and it doesn't break with attacks unless you are within 600 units of an enemy hero or building. You can use this, as of now, to farm stacks. The creeps will simply let you kill them without you taking any damage. Very effective. Puck, massive buff this patch because of how Dream Coil works. Really important to think about this in terms of matchups. Heroes like Storm used to own Puck, and now it might go the other way. Rubik. A lot of heroes receive this type of treatment, and it's important to consider the effect that these heroes have, if they're viable as a core. For instance, Spearbreaker has something similar, but I don't actually think he's viable as a core because he has no way of farming. Rubik, on the other hand, has been made a much better mid. He has better base damage, he has better stat gains, and now his passive makes it so he does more damage, and makes it so debuffs last longer. Your telekinesis at max level with max level passive now is 3.5 seconds, and any stun you steal is this much longer, which is insane if you think about it. So much better core than he was previously. Slardar now has a guaranteed bash every 4th hit, rather than bashing you on average 1 out of 4 hits. Very important to consider. In terms of late game, you can permabash, he might be more of a core now. Slark, improved turn rate. Most importantly though, his pounce is now a leash state. You can no longer TP out of it. You cannot TP before it because it will cancel. So Slark, heroes like this that benefit from that, or building items that root, very big buffs to them. And you also get a nice little change that makes it so you get 1 agility from anybody you kill, or anybody that dies with your Essence Shift debuff on, which is just free. So I think this hero is very busted and might be nerfed. Terrorblade can no longer sunder through spell immunity, and most notably doesn't really want to build treads anymore. So I think heroes like this got significantly nerfed by the boots changes. Troll now ensnares you instead of bashing you, but with higher chances at higher levels, and you can build a basher. So if you combine this with the fact that fervor stacks are now 12, and his ult is now an uncontrollable trance for just himself, where you are unslowable and you cannot die. It gives you a ton of attack speed, ton of movement speed, and ton of lifesteal, and you'll automatically attack whatever is closest to you. So basically, it's a duel that you're in that not the other guy is not in. It's a duel that people can run from, but it's very hard to kite you, and you do a ton of damage. 90-second cooldown, high mana cost. Completely changes the hero. I feel like he might be way better than he was before because he now offers like significant pick-off potential later on in the game, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. Hello, this is BSJ, and this is going to be a quick review of 7.20b, just to give you a little update on my opinion on the patch. So basically, this patch was just correcting a lot of heroes that were a little too overbuffed in the 7.20 patch. Ridiculously high win rates or just in general OP. So Meepo basically got less stat gains, less poof damage, and less lifesteal. So overall, the hero's still, in my opinion, pretty good. I've seen people still picking him, but not 67% win rate good. So we'll kind of have to see how Meepo plays out because I don't fully understand the hero and haven't played against him myself. But nice to remove that overbuffed hero from the ridiculously overbuffed pool. Luna, basically how Luna works now, if you compare her to last patch, is that her laning stage is weaker because she gets less damage level 1. She has 8 damage less at level 1, which is a pretty big deal for any hero in the game. But later on in the game, her 24 agi, I think I would prefer much over the 56 damage. Not only because it's agility and it gives you attack speed and armor, but also because you'd also prefer the stats for the rest of your team. Any strength hero still gets a large amount of HP from your passive. So overall, I think the hero is still better than she was last patch as the game goes on, but she's worse in the lane. So we'll kind of have to figure out where that plays out for her. Slark, the agi steal is now more of a gimmick, and like get you maybe 5 to 10 agi a game rather than the 20 agi we were seeing previously. Still good. It's absolutely free upgrade, but overall, obviously, I think that's a good way to rebalance him. They made his laning stage slightly weaker with the pounce duration, which I think is fine. The Shadow Dance nerfing his early game is definitely a big deal to think about. The thing about this hero is he's more of a pounce than he is anything else now. His pounce is super powerful, so they nerfed everything else about him, and I think that's fine. Or what they gave him, I guess you could say. So I think that Slark's fine. I think he's still a good hero, but not quite as broken as he was when the patch came out. Dazzle, I think, still a very strong hero. I think he might still be a core based on these changes, just a slight nerf. Sand King, really not sure about that hero, to be honest with you. I've heard good things from certain people, but overall, I haven't laned against it myself. Lone Druid, just a little bit of rebalancing. I think Drow might actually be a good hero. This benefits mid laners that get a lot of attack speed, so I think that's really good. And she also farms ridiculously fast. Most notably, she can farm ancient stacks because her passive works on ancients. So she 5 hits every ancient in the game. So every time she attacks 5 times, she kills an ancient, which is quite powerful for any hero in the game at level 6. Not sure about OD, but he got some nice buffs. I think Clinks is still terrible. I think CK might actually be a good hero. Have to try him out myself. I believe Ember Spirit's still too weak. A lot of heroes just got overbuffed comparatively. Medusa, the mana steal is even more important than the agi gain, but I think Medusa may come back as a mid laner. Just ridiculously strong talent at level 15, and now her stat growth as the game goes on becomes a lot better. And overall, all these heroes got a slight buff because they just didn't get the love they needed in the patch. Tran got a slight buff on his damage, as well as his move speed. Storm Spear got a little bit of buff on his stun duration, as well as his Electric Vortex cooldown, and his Overload slows attack speed just a bit more. Warcry gives a bit more, but I think Sven's all more of a support now, because his Warcry is much better early, but much worse late. And then Venomancer got a little love, because Poison Sting is now purgeable when it wasn't. I believe Wraithband remains at the same status, despite getting nerfed by 1 attack speed. So that's it for this video, just a quick update on 7.20b.